The purpose of this presentation is to share personal strategies and pathways I've found useful and beneficial towards my growth. It is not to dictate your path or others' paths. It is simply what has worked for me, with the goal of creating harmony within the system, striving towards a new beginning. I'll be talking about the following strategies: mutiny, parasites, navigating duality, letting go, speed runs, spirals and stairs, positive disintegration, and the quintessential choice. One of my initial thoughts upon realization of what this system is was rebellion or mutiny. I will use this somewhat pyramid-shaped ship to discuss some methods of mutiny. You, near the lower levels, as an average crew member, somehow discover the ship is on its way to do something you consider so bad it sounds crazy. Depending on how you approach others with this information, you might find yourself locked up in the brig or mental ward in the infirmary. There wouldn't be much you could do there to change the outcome. For some, there's the option of using a life raft or lifeboat to escape, but the ship and crew would still carry out its evil mission, and then you would just be adrift on the open ocean, maybe even surrounded by sharks. You could approach others, friends and such that trust you, and explain the ship is going to do something bad, but unless a large enough group is formed, you will find yourself with the same options: into the brig, adrift at sea, or maybe even dead. You can keep expanding the group, even including the ship's officers, hoping to take over the captain. But the captain is just taking orders and enacting them on the ship. You need awareness of where the orders are coming from and what those orders are doing to the vessel, the purpose. You need the captain on your side. So the only way to successfully mutiny is to not mutiny. It's to get the captain and full crew on your side, in harmony, together. The side of figuring out just what the heck is going on. You are also showing the captain that you will no longer be following any unclear orders, or orders which you find objectionable, regardless of what you signed up for. So if you plan on a mutiny, it's important to know where the orders come from and what effect they will have on your vessel. Make the captain know your vessel will no longer blindly follow orders or follow any orders which would cause harm to itself or others. The only things to throw overboard are parasites. Not necessarily talking about people here. And definitely don't throw yourself overboard. You won't accomplish anything. But do have your lifeboat ready just in case the system is unresponsive. You might not want to end up as a permanent crew member. And the ship in this example is also you, so you have to take control over your own vessel before helping others and before helping right the vessel we call the system here. So what are these parasites I just mentioned? They can be anything: people, places, things, corporations, ideas. Basically, it's something that needs a host to survive. This is very generalized advice for the physical parasite ticks. This strategy works for ticks as well as interdimensional vampires or any other nasty things out there. Step 1 is to know what types of parasites are out there. I don't know if interdimensional vampires exist, but I had also never heard of toxoplasmosis until recently. Again, we start with awareness of what is out there, or what is inside of you, or me. So also important is the general environments they exist. Any identifying characteristics. What they do to you. How do they exist when not attached to a host? The basics. Once you know these things, you can take preventative measures to avoid contact with parasites. With ticks, it's wearing long pants, high shoes, and socks versus shorts. Walking through cut grass instead of long weeds. Applying bug repellent. Then after any potential exposure, you ensure no parasites hitchhike their way aboard. With ticks, you would take off your clothes and examine any places they might have hid. If you do find yourself with a parasite attached, make sure to identify it correctly. Then, acting calmly, methodically, yet swiftly, use the appropriate tools to remove the parasite. Take appropriate care of any damage done by the parasite. Don't let a minor parasite cause major damage just because it's no longer present. Last step is to learn from your experience so you aren't picking up the same parasites and so that you might be able to help others in similar situations. Credit to this synopsis goes to Matt from Quantum of Conscious. Now back to ships, or boats, vessels. Duality is very much present in this system. Light, dark, good, evil, masculine, feminine, they go on and on. I think someone has counted up 275 examples. These are a few simplified examples of how I have navigated the general duality of this system. Kayaking solo. Use a double-sided paddle. Helps with balance, making smooth and steady strokes alternating left and right. Very easy to correct your course with minimal effort. The paddle's a fair distance from the side of the boat, so you're going outward to each side, but at a shallow depth. What you don't want to do is throw your balance off to one side, or get angry at the water, which it looks like this guy is doing. You don't have to have balance, but you do need awareness and harmony. However, not being balanced might cause your vessel to capsize, and that's usually disharmonious. Now in a canoe, you have a single paddle, or two people with two single paddles. If solo, you will be paddling alternating between the left and right side of the boat. The strokes are closer to the boat than the kayak, but they are also a little deeper. There is a pause between every stroke as you alternate sides, and you might drip water on yourself or in the boat if you're alone, so not ideal. But with two people in the canoe, you can paddle on your side while your partner paddles on the other side, and alternate on and off when appropriate. This is your standard masculine-feminine relationship. What you don't want is an imbalance of power on either side. Your boat might end up off course or going in circles. On a raft or in group situations, communication is key. Balance of power is also important. In rough water conditions, you need cohesion and clear decision-making based upon what's ahead. Awareness of the whole group and awareness of what's ahead. What you don't want to do is be a fence sitter or lukewarm. This isn't even a boat reference because it's almost impossible to navigate duality this way. If you are standing or sitting on the fence, you're essentially not making any decision under the guise of neutrality or being centered, but that is not what those things entail. If you are in this position, you'll be pushed and pulled from both sides until you are essentially split in two, victim of duality. In these boat examples, the paddle is representative of a tool. What happens when we throw technology in? Simply put, we can create and use technology in harmony with ourselves and the environment, or not. Technology can end up taking you over. Yes, this picture is just a metaphor, but ask yourself, who is in control of your life right now? You or technology? I reached an important part of my journey when I received a simple instruction. Let go. It took me 3 years to understand, to know, and to finally let go. Hopefully this advice will help you. I feel it will because it is a very general strategy that anyone can use at any time, any place, or any point on one's journey. This is not based on any narrative, no religion or other connotations. It's simply letting go, and that's it. As soon as you start adding things like rituals, sacrifice, belief systems, or specific methodology, then you are adding, creating, just another thing to let go of, getting stuck going round and round again. This is really all you need to know in order to let go. But I will share some definitions, recommendations, and other constraints which personally helped me. The first thing to know is what I mean when I say certain words or phrases. When I mention letting go, it is mostly about the awareness of what effect that thing has or has had on you, your system, or the system. I will use drinking alcohol as an example. To let go of alcohol would be to stop drinking for a certain period of time. You might still have alcohol in your house or available to buy at the corner store, but you don't consume any alcohol for a week or two. To gain awareness of the difference between you sober you, and drunk you. It's still available to you, but temporarily disconnecting from it. To fully disconnect from something might take an amount of willpower. I enjoy drinking alcohol, and alcohol is still present in the larger system where I live, but I am aware after letting go of alcohol that I mainly used it to numb myself of the world, the system around me. So to disconnect from something means that thing is still part of the larger system, but no longer part of you. The next step would be to get rid of the thing from the entire system which you are part of. This takes courage because there might be those that do not wish to do so. Drinking alcohol is a bad example here because it's not something I even want to get out of the system. The only thing I can think of as an example might be cannibalism, but even then that still exists in our system. So this is mostly about letting go or temporarily disconnecting from a thing. Anything. But here are a few examples. You can and should let go of everything that is not you. The end of an important cycle, where we are right now, is a good time to sober up. Of all things, but do so safely. I was close to the point of drinking so much for so long that I would need medicine to not die from withdrawal. If this is you, or if letting go of anything would cause harm to yourself or others, please seek help. Be safe. Let go of all notions, pretty much everything, preconceived or otherwise. Open your mind. Remember being a child and always asking why. Let go of your narratives that you are playing out right now. They are all hijacked and leading you to a point which you may not like. If that worries you, let go of that too. It's okay. But if you think that this is hell, don't continue to make it hell. On the opposite side, don't force yourself to be positive about everything. Don't fake it till you make it. Increase your awareness of what is really going on and why you feel those things. Let go of any and all unnecessary physical things in your life. Your cell phone, the news, social media, bad food, bad water, bad air, if you can. Any intoxicants. It doesn't mean just the usual drugs. Let go of caffeine, or reality TV shows, or sex. Pleasures generally come at a price. And let go of any rituals or routines which put you into a trance or autopilot. But again, let go of things safely and based on what you can do. That goes for things like your cell phone. If you had to have a cell phone 24/7 for your job, it might make it difficult to let go of. But know yourself, what you can and cannot do. But also ask yourself if having a job that requires a cell phone 24/7 is really healthy for you and your growth. Now, what can you do comfortably? Not much. There is expected to be a certain level of discomfort when letting go of certain things. It can be helpful to create a scale based on discomfort you have felt. The level of discomfort should be yours, not others, and shouldn't be based on any discomfort you faced that was too traumatic. Personally, I think the pepper scale is perfect. Peppers range from mild, no discomfort, to near extreme levels of discomfort. Also, the discomfort is caused by a chemical which activates your pain receptors. But in normal amounts, the peppers aren't really causing any damage to your body. It just feels that way temporarily. So in a way, it is false playing. It is also a scale a lot of people can relate to. When letting go of things, I generally stick to the mild, moderate levels of discomfort. In the letting go process, first you should take some time, preferably alone, to clear your mind. Let go of your thoughts. Some might label this time as relaxation, meditation, or prayer. Then make a determination to what you're going to let go of. Then just do it. Let go of that thing. This might take some form of action or inaction. It might be temporary, intermittent, such as fasting, or permanent, such as the notion that you are just a random thing floating around in a random place. Then there's generally some feeling associated with the letting go. It could be comfortable or not. Feeling can be anything. The key is to hold on to that feeling as you realize you have let go or overcome. In this moment, you should have awareness of what that thing was to you. if it fits, if it was you, or maybe if it was something not you. Then return and contemplate on what that means. If something you have let go of was a big part of you, you might go through withdrawal and have a hangover. Hangovers are not limited to the overconsumption of alcohol. They can be felt from the withdrawal of anything in your life that is in excess. So if you have let go of something and find yourself having a hangover, ask yourself if you really need that thing in your life. Is it worth it? Why is it worth it? So what gets rid of a hangover? Nothing really. If you are drinking, you can start drinking again, or replace alcohol with another drug, but that's only a temporary solution. Tapering off is usually safe, as long as you eventually fully let go. But eventually, you'll just have to do it and get through it. The getting over it stage is important. You can do it alone or with others. Those others can be your drinking buddies from the previous night or some sober people. Pros and cons for each. But there are no simple tricks that work for everyone. So in the end, it's a matter of letting go or not. Letting go of things is all about your own path and your own pace. If you try to do too much too soon or too fast, it might lead to crashing. Then you might not be inclined to try it again. Forcing your own will almost always lead to failure. You know what you are capable of, as long as you aren't lying to yourself. This isn't a competition or race, but you could consider it practice for a personal race. Which brings me to the topic of speedruns. I've spent a lot of time playing video games. I was never interested in the speedrunning community until recently. But first, why do I use the term game or endgame? As kids, we used to learn and grow through games. We would learn about others and ourselves, practicing and exercising life skills. Even animals do this. But as adults, the only games we play are the systems games. Job and stock markets, gambling, driving, all things centered around profit, BS, and death. It is important to retain a spirit of youth. Remember what used to be important to ourselves. Doesn't mean your perspective has to be the same. In the end, this is just a metaphor. So in a game, a speed run is the fastest and/or most efficient completion of a goal, a game, a level, etc. There are usually different requirements based upon the game, but in the end it is usually a race against the clock. When a new game is released, people create their own strategies to complete their speedrun goals. In the current speedruns community, most people share their strategies. Even if they don't, most speedruns are now recorded, so anyone can view what strategies they use. This culminates all the players' strategies into just a few of the most effective. Speedrunners apply these strats to practice running again and again and again until they accomplish their goal. Even though there are leaderboards, in the end the speedruns are a race against the clock and more about bettering oneself than competition versus others. Most speedrun strategies are based on the optimum path to complete your goal. If the goal is to simply reach the end, you can take a line there that avoids the obstacles or enemies. The game might require you to defeat all the enemies, so then you would take an efficient path to do this. Or maybe you only have to defeat the final boss, so again you would avoid all the other enemies. Or it's simply to get the treasure before the end, and again, avoiding all the obstacles. This might seem like an obvious and silly example, but how many video games have you played where you simply avoided all the enemies? This is one of the main speedrun strats today. If you have never played a video game, then ask yourself, how many battles have you fought that were completely unnecessary to your personal end goal? Are you on your optimal path? The path I use is spiral. From another perspective, it is stairs. This allows me to cover a lot of area and experience a broad range of things. Showing my path as a set of stairs is the best way to describe what is happening in the system, at least for me. Imagine a set of 5 stairs. At the bottom is a pile of data. can be anything from personality characteristics to morals to fruit. I will use fruit as the example here. Your job is to take a cornucopia of fruit to the 5th step, but you have little idea what the requirements are for your cornucopia until you're at that top step. Your first trip, you sort through all the junk to find whatever you think is best. Then you go up the stairs to the top. Your cornucopia of fruit and mostly junk is rejected, but at the top step, you now know what the requirements are for the perfect cornucopia. Unfortunately, in this system, the more steps you take back down, the more you forget what the requirements were for your cornucopia. To get over this issue, you retain what little you remember to sort through all the junk and select as much as you think comes close to the requirement. You then put as much stuff on the next stair step and again sort through to make your cornucopia, taking it again to the top and likely back down again. But this time you no longer have to go to the bottom step, so you retain more information, more of the requirements to make your cornucopia. Also, you no longer have to sort through so much junk. So you continue this process of refinement until you're standing at the top step with your perfect cornucopia. Perfection through imperfection. And spoiler, it's at this point you fully realize that you were the one creating the requirements for your cornucopia all along. Now you might notice in this diagram the steps are cleaned off every time. This is because by the top step you will have sorted through things 3 or 4 different times, so it isn't necessary to keep around. It also provides a clean path should you want to go back to the bottom source pile and dig around for some more. If you don't do this, your stairs become cluttered with possibly useless things. Along this path of refinement, you might come across some things that might help you cope with existence in this system right now, but they don't fit with you at the top. It's okay to revisit some of these things as long as you're aware of the potential negatives. If you are hanging out at lower levels, your nice fruit cornucopia might spoil. Another potential aspect of this system is an artificial memory gain as you are coming back down the steps. Without getting into AI conspiracy, you could also attribute this to the parts of the system that your brain enjoys, your brain's indoctrination into the system. In the end, it's all about awareness of where things come from. So what happens when you reach the top step and are ready to move on? You do it all again. The process of experience and refinement is ongoing. A year ago, after composing my path and strategies, I came across the theory of positive disintegration. This is similar to my path taken in the stair-step strategy, only much more eloquent and scientific. Dabrowski is a psychologist, psychiatrist, and physician. The theory describes a process of personality development, the creation of a unique individual personality. A human individual is authentic if he has developed an autonomous attitude towards himself, his environment, and his ideal of personality. If he has achieved a high level of synthetic inner psychic transformation, consciousness, self-consciousness, empathy, hierarchization, and a strong feeling of his essential existence. The term disintegration is used to refer to a broad range of processes, from emotional disharmony to the complete fragmentation of the personality structure, all of which are usually regarded as negative. Every authentic creative process consists of loosening, splitting, or smashing the former reality. Every mental conflict is associated with disruption and pain. Every step forward in the direction of authentic existence is combined with shocks, sorrows, suffering, and distress. Positive disintegration. With one of the end goals to take one's life in one's own hands. In other words, to become your own specialist. Specialize in yourself. Bill Tiller has a website and several presentations going into more detail of this theory. There is also a cool and short video on YouTube by Think Big Innovation titled 5 Levels of Personality Growth. My path and strategies have led me to a quintessential choice. System endpoint or not. I believe this is the only decision which will allow completion of our real endpoints of both the individual and system, the only way to truly create a new beginning. Or you can stick with the current system endpoint of deception and destruction. But regardless, people should be aware that their individual and group narratives and endpoints have been corrupted and hijacked, all leading back to the system endpoint. What does the system endpoint appear to be? 2 into 1, no longer the same individual. Marriage, 2 into 1 of wheat and weeds, fruit and no fruit, Abel-Cain bloodlines, creator-exploiters, hosts parasites, empath psychopaths, nature technology, eventually leading to assimilation into a negative technological collective. A hive mind, or like the Borg in Star Trek, or Cylons in Battlestar Galactica. And the bare minimum of what the system is doing is hijacking and corrupting all of our narratives. All narratives, even those not listed here. All our narratives are corrupted or hijacked. This is a quick overview of how your narrative path and start-end points generally work. You have your start point. You choose your end point. At times you are presented with infinite or near infinite number of paths. Choose your path. End when you arrive at your end point. At this point, you should be able to look back at your whole path. The rest of the paths collapse, as if there was only one path that could have gotten you to the end point. Sometimes referred to as the straight and narrow, or quantum superposition. Or coming full circle, because your endpoint is the beginning. You are still you. When choosing an endpoint, you can will yourself anywhere on any path with any narrative, as long as you are aware, which is an issue right now in this system. The system, using many methods, but mostly technological, has ran iterations of all your paths, corrupted and hijacked them all to lead to its endpoint, marriage of 2 into 1, creating a virtual, mental, spiritual, and physical veil, leading to the only choice, system endpoint or not. Just to go over the basics of what is happening in the system. The system is at the end of a cycle, leading us into a new beginning. But the system is currently upside down. We worship BS instead of respecting truth. At some point, the system was hijacked and corrupted, which created a veil, leading to the lack of truth, knowledge, empathy, love, light, awareness, and discernment. What are the goals of this strategy of not? Is to avoid the system endpoint while respecting freedom of will. If people want to become transhumanist cyborgs, there isn't much we can do besides provide truth and information about what that would mean. Then turn the system back around while respecting truth. Then we can reestablish our own individual endpoints, which hopefully lead to individual growth and growth of the system, increasing truth, knowledge, empathy, love, light, awareness, and discernment. Why do I feel this is an effective strategy? It's a paradoxical solution. The true nature of God, the universe, everything and nothing is paradoxical, so it respects strategies like this one. Also, it is still in the same spirit of the system. The system is about 180 degrees turned around. The not strategy is almost the same as the system endpoint, but almost 180 degree difference. So the system endpoint wants 2 into 1. The not strategy takes many choices into 1. The system endpoint wants to assimilate many into 1, while the not strategy harmonizes many into one decision by temporarily letting go of our individual endpoints while still keeping our self, our individual, our being intact. in order to remove corruption from our story, our narratives, while the system wants you to give up on yourself, your individual, your being, by following a corrupted and hijacked narrative, creating a false realization of your endpoint, and instead reaching the system endpoint. What could this sequence of events look like? First and most important is a harmonious decision to not. While you table your personal endpoints, temporarily, and also let go of your narrative, temporarily. At this point, the system should respond, giving the chance to lift the veil of corruption. Then you can reset your endpoints and narratives based on awareness of the truth, and the system with our new endpoint will respond accordingly. What are some problems and hopefully solutions with this strategy? There are two movies you can watch and see the truth about what is going on right now in this system. The Lego Movie 2, the second part, and the 1976 movie titled Network. In Network, a news anchor realizes the true nature of things and goes on a rant, getting viewers to yell out their windows, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore." Instead of being pulled off air, he is given his own show. The higher-ups don't care because they know people. They know you. They have all the data, ran all the iterations of your behaviors. They know how you will act and react. In the show, even though the problems are being talked about, the focus isn't on the problems. The focus is on the drama of it all. Creating a cult following, a place to belong, but also a place where nothing is accomplished. This, like slacktivism, gives people a false sense of belonging and doing something meaningful. The most meaningful things you can ever do is inside yourself. A possible solution is another movie, Fight Club. Simply, you don't talk about it. You make your decision, your mind, spirit, actions, behavior reflect your decision, but you don't make it into a thing. So don't make this into a thing. The plane crash problem is similar to the cult issue. You group a bunch of people together, give them a pilot, and then crash the plane, not only discrediting the pilot, but everyone on board. So don't let anyone be the pilot, especially not me. I'm easily discredited, and I'm not a captain. And this isn't even my strategy. Lots of people have mentioned something similar. It's even in the Network movie. Another issue with this strategy is the Congress problem. Congress has around 25% approval rating, while individual representatives have around 50% approval rating. People tend to think their representative is doing their job, while the rest of Congress is not. In the same way, people will likely say, "not my narrative," or "not my God," or similar. They won't let go of something they've thought was true their entire lives. There's no clear solution for these people, but there is one for the rest of us. That's to harmonize. Harmonize under the decision of not. Harmonize under the premise that our endpoints come secondary. Harmonize our narratives after not accepting the system endpoint. At this point, the only way to win their game is to no longer play. Then create your own game. Set your own endpoint. Follow your own path.